Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a really fiery speech that just went down in the Philippine Senate. We're talking about a privileged speech, which is when a lawmaker can get up and say pretty much whatever's on their mind. And boy, this one was a bombshell. A senator is claiming there's a whole script at play, designed not just to smear the Senate, but to cover for the real masterminds behind a massive corruption scandal. And right at the heart of this whole thing is this powerful Filipino proverb. The senator keeps coming back to it, basically saying that every single attack that's been thrown at him and at the Senate has ended up doing one thing: exposing the people who threw the punch in the first place. Okay, so let's get right into the main accusation here. What on earth is the script he's talking about? Well, the basic idea is that this is all a big misdirection play. He's claiming that public anger is being deliberately manipulated, kind of like a magic trick. The goal? To make the Senate look like the bad guy, creating this huge smokescreen to hide what's really going on.
Right, and you have to ask, what's so big that it needs a cover-up of this scale? This isn't just about some political squabble. The speech alleges that this entire script, this whole drama, is designed to bury a controversy that involves billions with a B in public money.
So according to the senator, the motive is pretty straightforward. It's a cover-up. He's talking about huge problems or anomalies in government flood control projects. And the plan, he says, is to shift all the blame onto the senators, turning them into what he calls sacrificial lambs. Basically, public scapegoats to take the heat while the people really responsible just walk away clean. Now, this is where the speech goes from being about a vague conspiracy to something much, much more direct. It builds up to this huge reveal, claiming one single, very powerful person is behind it all. He paints this picture of one person pulling all the strings from behind the curtain. Someone whose name, he claims, gets whispered about in newsrooms and in the halls of Congress, but that nobody dares to say out loud. And this, he says, is the source of all the chaos. And then he says it, just like that. He directly points the finger at the Speaker of the House, Martin Romualdez, and names him as the mastermind. I mean, this is the moment the entire speech pivots. It's no longer just hinting at things. It's a direct accusation. Okay, so you can't just drop a name like that without trying to back it up, right? So the next big question is, how does the senator try to connect the speaker to all these events? Let's follow the trail of breadcrumbs he lays out. So he lays out this timeline, arguing that these aren't just random events, but a clear pattern. It kicks off in 2023 when he starts asking questions about the budget. Then, parts of that budget get held back. Suddenly, there's an impeachment complaint that he claims was used as a political bargaining chip. And all of it, he argues, leads to the explosive hearings we're seeing now. Now, a huge piece of this puzzle is the testimony from this one guy, a retired master sergeant. The senator really zeroes in on him, saying he's especially believable for two main reasons. One, he had nothing to do with the projects himself, and two, and this is a big one, he didn't ask for immunity to tell his story. And the story he told revolved around this one, just jaw-dropping number. The witness claimed he personally handled a delivery of 1.7 billion pesos. In one go. Just let that sink in for a second. That's not just a shady deal. That's an almost unbelievable amount of cash. But how did it get there? This is where the testimony gets incredibly vivid. He claims it wasn't some quiet wire transfer. We're talking about a physical delivery of 35 suitcases, each one stuffed with almost 50 million pesos in cash. The grand total? About 1.7 billion. And the alleged drop-off point? The private home of House Speaker Martin Romualdez. This is, without a doubt, the single most explosive claim in the entire speech. So this brings us all the way back to that proverb from the beginning. The senator's whole point is that every single attempt to attack him or the Senate didn't work. Instead, it backfired, with those three fingers pointing right back at the accusers. And he lays out this chain of events as his proof. First, they go after his campaign funds. The rebound? It comes out that tons of other officials did the exact same thing. Then, they question Senate procedures. The rebound? Witnesses in that very hearing named 17 congressmen. And finally, when a witness tries to name drop him, the very next person to testify is the sergeant, who ends up naming the speaker. And all of this builds to his final, powerful argument. He accuses the entire system of what he calls selective justice. He uses the side-by-side comparison to hammer his point home. He says, look, when senators were named, there were immediate calls to freeze their assets. But when 17 congressmen got named, crickets. And when the speaker himself was accused of receiving $1.7 billion in cash, the official response was basically, yeah, we'll get around to it.
So his final plea, his call to action, isn't really about defending the Senate. It's about demanding basic fairness. He's asking his fellow senators to throw out this so-called script and investigate everybody who was named, whether you're a senator, a congressman, or even the Speaker of the House.
And that's the question he leaves hanging in the air. Is this whole thing really about transparency and accountability? Or is the Senate just being set up to be that sacrificial lamp, a convenient target to make the public feel like justice is being done, while the real story remains hidden? It's a heavy question and one that's now looming over the entire political scene.